Yo, it's your boy Augie. Real quick, thank you for getting me to 6,200 subscribers. I know it's not a crazy big number for some channels, but for me and for the stuff I do, being a faceless YouTube channel, for you guys to subscribe and get me to this number, I truly appreciate it. So, with that being said, I'm going to show you guys how I make these Dragon Ball Sparking Zero videos every week. And to be honest, some of these videos are done in like 2 days. I give myself a week, but I be procrastinating as hell. And sometimes the videos are done in like 2 days. So I'm going to show you how I make them and the tools I use. Okay. Shout out to a subscriber who asked a question in one of my videos, and I promised them I would give out that I'll make this video. So honestly, bro, this is for you and for anybody else who wanted to know how I make these videos. Thank you for watching them. I know it's different from what's on YouTube, and for you guys to rock with those videos and keep watching. I'm 33 episodes into this Dragon Ball Sparking Zero What If story, and you guys have watched all of them. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for supporting. That being said, make sure we go over to Patreon, because the tool I use like religiously is Otis Inf. The link is in the description, but Otis Inf makes Unreal Engine photo mode tools. So if you play games that use Unreal Engine 4 or 5, you can use Otis's tools to basically pause the game, move the camera around when you can't move it normally, and also create photo mode type sessions in games that don't come with it or do but aren't as fleshed out. So when you go to Otis, subscribe. It's about $5 a month, but trust me, this is the best $5 you are ever going to spend. I promise you, because the tools Otis makes is just like, it's so good. So real quick, on the Patreon, you notice there's a bunch of photo mode tools here: Gears of War, Valhalla, Greedfall. We got Metroid Exodus, Titanfall 2. These are all the photo modes he's made. There's a ton more. Okay. But what we need for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is an Unreal Engine 5 game. So he has Unreal Engine 4 and Unreal Engine 5, just a universal unlocker for the camera. And then he also makes specific games like Assassin's Creed Shadows, Doom. You saw the Doom video I made a couple weeks ago. So there's certain games that have their own specific photo modes that are made for them because the way the game works. And then there are just universal Unreal Engine game 4 and 5s that the tool works for. So for Sparking Zero, you want to click on the recent, as of July 5th, as I'm making this video, 2025, there is a post right here that came out June 18th called Recent Games Compatible with Unreal Engine 4 and 5. Click on that post. It will take you straight to the links you need. As you can see, Unreal Engine 4 games that currently have support that just came out: Final Fantasy, South of Midnight. Those are Unreal Engine 4. And then Unreal Engine 5 game that just came out, The Altars, an amazing game. Go play it if you haven't played The Altars. I love that game. Avowed, obviously Expedition 33, and so on and so forth. So to get the actual tool, scroll down to Unreal Engine Unlockers, click on this link, and it will take you to this page where you'll see Unreal Engine 5 Unlocker and Unreal Engine 4 Unlocker. If you want, get both of them, because you're really gonna, if you're playing other games that have Unreal Engine 4 support, get the 4. But for Sparking Zero, go ahead and get Unreal Engine 5, and that is what we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom, and we're going to download the latest version, 5.5.2. Go ahead and grab that exe and go ahead and extract it to whatever folder you want. Here is everything that comes with it. Please go to this link right here, Franz's link, and read all the documentation on how to use it. I'm going to give you a brief tutorial, but trust me, there are tools that I don't even use. So if you really want to dive deep into this and really maximize your purchase and your support of this tool, go ahead and read this documentation. Now, that being said, after you have extracted the files, here is what you're going to have. You're going to have, inside of the exe, you're going to have a post process preset. Don't touch this. You're gonna have all of these things. They're fine. Don't touch any of them. What you're focusing on is this right here, the client. Okay, the client is what we're going to launch when we are inside of games. So to use the client correctly, first you need to launch your game, And then when you get to a point inside of the game where a camera is used, whether it's in the menus or it's in an actual part of the game like a character select, any place where you think a developer has to code where the camera should point is a good place to inject the exe. Don't put it in a menu full of text because usually there's no camera there. It's just text. It won't work or it won't enable correctly in those places. But whenever there's a character present where the camera has to pan to that character, that's a perfect place. So I'll show you where in Sparking Zero where I like to inject this tool. But before we inject it, let's take a look at what it is. This exe it's safe for your PC. All it's doing is it's injecting the Unreal Engine Unlocker DLL into the game. So where it says select here, but we don't, there's no game present right now, so it won't tell you what game you can inject it in. So let's go ahead and launch Sparking Zero. I'm going to launch Sparking Zero through my mod loader. So let's go ahead and take care of that. All right, so with Sparking Zero now launched and playing, let's go back to our Otis Inf tool, and notice how it still says please select the process. That's because I opened the tool before I had a game ready. But if you do this and this is empty for you, go ahead and click select. When you click select, it will go ahead and highlight the most available game that is compatible, which is Sparking Zero, obviously. Go ahead and hit select and then select it, and that should bring it here. Now, if you were to open this after you launch the game, it would pick it automatically for you. But if you launch it before you pick the game, you have to do the manual selection yourself. But as you can see, here's the path of the game, and here it's ready for injection. But like I said, this is not a good place to inject because there's no real camera here. Yes, there is a camera that is set for the planet and the look, but for my experience, this is not a good place to inject the code. So let's go ahead, let's start the game, and we'll actually inject this inside of the menu. So now the reason why I'm saying is because this right here, notice how the camera just moved. There was a camera movement from Goten and Trunks to now Beerus and Whis. There is a camera present. Once we see a camera present, go ahead and hit inject, and watch up in the left corner, initializing, console active, and camera found. That's what we're looking for. We want to make sure there's a camera found, because if there is no camera found, it will crash the game and have to do it all over again. So now that I've found the camera, it knows exactly the executable string for my Steam link. So it's good to go. We can now do some housekeeping in here. Like I said in my other previous videos for Expedition 33 and Doom and the Altars, you want to do a couple things. The first thing you want to do is let's go into configuration. For me, I like to keep the display notifications turned off. That was what you just saw, the pop-ups. That is the notification. So if you're recording something and you're going to be moving around pressing different hotkeys, you don't want to have that show up in the corner of your video, because then you have to go back in and do some masking to remove it. It's a mess. Better just deactivate it altogether and you're good. For the sake of this video, I will not deactivate because I want you to see how I'm making things work and what I'm pressing. So I'll leave it on. But for your videos, go ahead and turn this off. You don't need people seeing the button inputs. Next thing, let's go into key bindings. Everything you see here except for one button is changed. That is the lock and unlock camera movement. Normally this button is the home key, but since I use reshade, I don't want reshade to conflict with this, so I'm going to go ahead and remap this to my pause break key. That is the only thing I've remapped. Everything else is as it comes default. So when I say a button or a hotkey, it's exactly as the software is. Only one that is different is the lock and unlock camera, and I'll show you why in a second that I do that. That's it. Everything else is there. So go ahead and just learn your hotkeys, but I'll walk you through the ones that I use the most. Okay. If you want for controller pads, here you can change those too. Now let's go into available features. In-game console, we'll take a look. Built-in free camera, definitely. HUD delete, definitely. Object info dump, I don't really even know what that is. Game pause, yes, we'll talk about it. And pose editor, we'll talk about that too. There are other things in here: bloom, lens, lumen, exposure, depth of field. You can play around with all of these. I'll cover some. If you notice, none of my videos have depth of field, only because I'm trying to get a lot more of the anime's feel, so I don't use depth of field. But I'll show you some of these tools. The one tool that I know Otis is reworking is the lights, so I won't touch that in this video. It's a little wonky for me to use, so I'm not gonna bug you with how to use it. We're just gonna move past it. All right. So that being said, now let's go into how I make these videos. So let's start with obviously custom battle, because if you notice, a lot of my videos is dialogue and I need to create the scene. So let's go into a custom battle. Let's go ahead and load up legendary. This is a test I have ready for you guys. And we're gonna just create some some content in here. So obviously I've set my characters. Let's change our battle environment. Let's go to one of these modded places, because those are always fun to use, for example, for demonstration purposes. Let's go to Beerus's planet. I like Beerus's planet. Let's hit B. Now that we have our location set, let's go to settings, our scene settings. We're gonna just basically do what we normally do for a custom battle. So this part you already know how to do, so I'm not going to really bore you with it. We're gonna just pick a regular setting. You know what, let's change it, because I think we're just gonna be on the water too much in this. I don't want to be dealing with the water physics and all that stuff. It looks stupid. So let's change our location real quick to something more grounded. You know what? So let's try this new place. Let's go the training room light. This one just dropped on Patreon. If you want to check it out, I'll put the description I'll put the link in the description. Jesus Christ. Let's go back into scene settings. Let's do the thing. And let's just use Goku and Bardock for this example. We'll pick our settings, So what I normally do is, for the most part, I try to get as close to what I need in the video inside of here. That way I don't have to do a lot of work. I'm lazy. I don't like doing a lot of work, so I like to try and get a lot of my content ready to go and done. And then all I'm doing here after this is tweaking locations and just how the frame is set up. So normally this is what it would look like. Pretty boring, not a lot going on, not a lot of drama. We want to close the gap between Goku and his dad. So what we do is we go ahead and do a preview. And inside the preview, we're going to use our first button, the number pad 0 key. When you hit the number pad 0 key, the game pauses. If you notice in the top left corner, it paused the game. So now this frame is locked, but we're not locked in the camera. Now we can hit insert, and now the camera is movable. So now we have a free moving camera. So if I wanted to change this shot of Goku, here you go. Now I can get a much better close-up of the man, and there you go. And then to create the dynamic movement, I simply just pushed. By the way, I'm using a gamepad. I'm using both the keyboard for the hotkeys and a gamepad for the movement of the camera. So I'm gonna slowly push back on the left stick, and that's gonna create this simple dolly out movement. Not the most smoothest, because I'm just doing this real quick to show you. But you see how it creates that nice kind of Ken Burns effect on Goku, where he's slowly being pulled out, and you're getting that little bit of movement in the camera. That's how I make these shots, okay? And you're basically tied to your imagination, especially when you're trying to get these angles. It's all up to you where you want to put the camera. So one thing I would say, if you're trying to create, videos, watch a lot of, you're a Dragon Ball fan already. You already know this shit. But go back and watch some of your favorite Dragon Ball Z scenes and try to recreate them shot for shot with this tool. You get a lot of amazing ideas that really help compose your shots to make them feel more Dragon Ball like. Especially Toriyama loved to do a lot of these really tight close-ups on people's face. So there you go. So that's how you get the camera super close to people's face, where you're just all up in his face, all up in his face. All right. So you got that going. You got his face, but you really want him and Bardock to be really in each other's grill, okay? Each other's grill heavy. So let's go ahead real quick. The first thing you want to do, you want to hide the HUD, okay? You can see the mouse, and you can see the text skip button. You want to hide that. Hit the delete key, and that will hide the HUD. This is the same key across every Unreal Engine 5 game you're gonna play. Delete key again, the HUD comes back. Perfect. Now we got the HUD hidden. Now for the next step, we want to move Bardock closer to Goku. So let's go ahead and hit. It's a 2-key hotkey. It's the control and insert key at the same time. Control insert. That will bring up this menu right here, the camera tools in-game overlay. Perfect. Make sure enable camera is checked. Let's go to the second tab, actor selection and manipulation. Make sure the first box is checked. Make newly selected static mesh. There you go. Real quick, the game can only control the characters present on screen. You cannot swap character meshes for people that are not actually loaded in the scene. So if you want a character and you forgot to bring them in, you can't just hot swap them. You have to go back and swap them out. And so always make sure you have all your characters selected that you need in the scene, and then we can play around. Make sure it's movable is also selected. Let's go ahead and select Bardock. So we selected Bardock. Let's make sure. Sometimes what I've noticed is it doesn't always select the person when you want them to. So you have to kind of click around to see if you can get that character selected. This is the part that, as of right now, is the most infuriating, because I'm clicking on this character and, to be honest, I'm not getting any bite as to how I can move them closer. There we go. So I moved the camera a little bit around and we were able to find Bardock. The reason why I know we found Bardock is because, one, we have a no bandana link to the name, and it tells you BP characters. So this is his character ID plus the no bandana version of Bardock, which is a mod that you can go ahead and pay for to get. But yes, now we have Bardock selected. We can now use these tools. So we have left and right delta, which means we can just move them around, back and forth, and obviously up and down. Okay. So let's get him closer to Goku. Let's move him forward, and then let's move him to the left. And then with our camera, we can now also move the camera. And as you can see, we now have Bardock close to Goku. Let's make sure we get him down so his feet touch earth. And now he's planted in the scene. There you go. So that is how you bring characters together. Pretty easy, barely an inconvenience. So there you go. So this is how I get my shots. So if I need to get two characters talking to each other or looking at each other, obviously Sparking Zero and the devs didn't give us a lot of, they gave us a lot of scenes, but not enough. So with this tool, we can take the scenes they gave us and we can manipulate it even more to create new scenes that doesn't exist, but with our imagination and with this tool, we can make happen. So there you go. There is Goku and Bardock. Obviously, they're not looking at each other. So this is all up to you. Just playing around with the way things are set up. And now you have Bardock and Goku in a staring contest. Almost. Let's move Bardock to the left some more. And there you go. Now you got these two in a staring contest. Father and son. Super Saiyan in base form. And now I can do all these kind of camera movements and all this jazz. So once I have this, I go ahead and control insert again to hide that. And then I can now move the camera and get my shots. But also, if I want to avoid accidentally moving the camera, remember that hotkey I told you I swapped out? So I can hit the pause break. Pause break now makes the camera movement as locked and I can't move the camera anymore. So when I play this scene, when I unfreeze this moment with the 0 key again, it will just play regularly and I can get the shot I want in a static view. Now notice how after the scene is done, we're back to the menu, but the menu is now broken. It's not broken, it's just that we move the camera out of this current state of position so we can't go back to its default. To fix this, press the insert key, and that crashed the game. Okay, so you experienced our first crash, and sometimes it's not really the game crashing, it's sometimes your mods that are crashing. So just be aware that before you blame the tool, make sure you don't have conflicting mods. We just had an update in the game, and for somebody like me who uses a bunch of mods to create it, it's not the most stable build right now. I'm still trying to make it more stable, but as of right now, my DBZ Sparking Zero build with mods is not very stable, so bear with me. All right, we're back into Sparking Zero, and now let me show you the other way. So with the game now first started, we're going to launch the exe client, and now you'll notice that Sparking Zero is already defaulted because the game was started before we launched the client. So now I can just simply insert the tools into it, and we can go back to Sparking Zero, and everything is now found, camera found. Luckily in this time when I inserted it outside of the game loading, it found the camera. Sometimes it doesn't, so just be aware that it doesn't always work. But luckily for this go around, inserting the camera in the menus worked. All right, let's go back into custom battles and let's just load up our test battle that we were working on. And let's just, we'll just leave the location as Namek for now because I don't really care. This is not part of the experiment. I just want to show you how to fix that issue we just saw with the camera. So you create your scene. We'll just pick this for purposes of explanation. We'll capture our thumbnail, and then we'll preview this. And inside the preview, we will hit the insert key and the HUD key like we had before. We have the camera moving around, all that. The cutscene ends. We're brought back to the menu. First, actually, if you have this black screen, it's because your HUD is deleted. Undelete your HUD, and now you're back here. You're here. You're like, dang it, what happened? I can't move nothing. I can't move and click anything. That's because your camera is still enabled. Disable your camera, and now everything is back. All right, so that's how you fix that. First, turn off your HUD, and then make sure your camera is set back to its proper default. And if you had the game paused, go ahead and hit the 0 key to unpause it, because then it allows the game to run the game process. So that's how I'm creating these shots. Now for the more complicated stuff, let me show you a little bit. Let's back all the way out of here. Let's go into the character select screen, because there's some fun little things you can do in the character select screen that you can't do anywhere else. So for example, in this setting where Goku is standing here, we can press the delete key and hide the HUD. We can press the insert key, and now we control the camera. Pretty cool, pretty cool. I like that we can now just freely look around this entire map. As you can tell, you're not meant to see any of this stuff, so it's obviously blank and barren, but it is cool that you can see different sides of the models and of the environment and just take a look around. And if you want, you can actually go to Vegeta and take a look at Vegeta all the way over here, him just stewing in the corner and shit like he always does. All right, that's not what I'm trying to show you. What I'm trying to show you though is, let's go back to Goku. Goku is now a freely moving character, and we want to do stuff with him. Okay, let's bring back our overlay. So control insert. Let's go ahead and let's go to character selection and manipulation. Make sure that box is checked. Let's click on Goku. You see, we have Goku selected. Let's make sure it's him by moving it around. There we go. Super base, whatever. This is the character ID for Goku in this setting. All right, we have Goku selected. And now to show you the other part, let's go to experimental options. In experimental options, there are a bevy of animations that you can make Goku perform that the game doesn't really want you to. These are all things you can do in different parts of the game, but this is all of them. So, unfortunately, the way they are named, it's not the best. It's a lot of trial and error to figure out what is what, and you might have to just create your own list um, of animations that you need and use when you use them the most. But let's just click on a couple. Let's click on the select screen battle 99. Let's click on this one. Okay. Click on another one. As you can see, we're not able to play around and the game just crashed. Make our way into the character select screen. Let's just go into training for this purpose. Training mode helps a lot because you can play animations inside of training, and you can also control the CPU's behavior by either standing still or just guarding. That kind of helps really create a lot of content. So I'm going to use these guys again. So in this setting, we have a camera present, obviously, because that's how we can position the characters. We have a location, and now we can either hide the HUD by pressing delete, and we now get this nice view, but there's too much spacing between the characters, right? So let's go ahead and hit our insert key to move the camera around. Always have the camera enabled first before you do anything. Once the camera is enabled, hit your control insert to bring up the overlay, and now actor selection. Once again, make sure that is checked. We can click on someone like Jesus Christ, Raditz. What is wrong with me? You know what? I am so tired. I haven't really had a lot of sleep this last couple days, so I'm probably delirious. So, but anyways, we can move Raditz back and forth. Notice how we can now restructure the positioning of Raditz to get him closer to Goku. Same thing with Bardock. We can bring him in, we can bring him forward, and then we can move him in. Okay. We can also rotate him if we want to create a more heroic. We can also lean him back or forward. Okay. But always be careful because his feet might, leave the earth. But, you can just move him up and down, lean him a little bit if you want. And the game physics helps kind of balance out. Notice how his feet is balancing him out there. That's nice. But let's move him to this side and let's rotate him this way to get that nice feel. Like, because you want Goku to be in the middle, kind of balance out this scene. Let's grab Gohan and let's bring him over. See, notice how he's behind Raditz. Let's just bring him to the front. Clips right through. And there you go. Now let's grab Krillin. Let's bring him in a little bit. Let's bring him forward. Let's move him over and more forward. And there you go. Now you have a picture, but see, I don't like Krillin's position too much. Let's rotate him a little bit. There we go. And then let's move him back. Let's move him down. I don't want him clipping. There you go. There you go. That's what I want. Perfect. Let's go ahead and hide the overlay with our control insert key again. Let's move around. And notice how Goku is clipping Bardock. Let's bring back our overlay. Let's click on Bardock and let's just push him to the back just a little bit. There we go. No more clipping. Control insert. You see, if you don't hit control insert fast enough, you will disable the camera. And so that is one of the issues with the control insert, is that you have to be very careful or you will undo everything you just did. Luckily for us, what we're doing isn't that complicated. So we can just go back and do it again. We can move everybody over a little bit faster. And let's just move Gohan, bring him back, bring him forward, move him over a little bit, make sure he's not clipping anyone's feet. Let's grab our Baldy. Let's bring him in, bring him forward, slide him over, and then let's go and rotate him away. And there we go. So that is how I made the the thumbnail for this video. This is pretty much how it was made. Literally, this is how I made the thumbnail. The thing you clicked on to see this video, yeah, is that easy to make. And it's cool because now inside of the character select screen, they're playing a looped animation. So you now have endless minutes to record these group of people together. And when I take the photos, I usually use the Xbox Game Bar. I'm playing on a Windows 11 PC, so Windows Alt Print Screen will give you an HDR, because I play an HDR monitor, so sometimes just using print screen isn't the best. So Windows Alt Print Screen will capture what you're seeing as is with the HDR built into the image, so you get it one for one to what you're looking at. But that's not all, because now we have them in this static pose, which is cool for what we want to do. Especially like if you notice at the end of the Cooler Saga episode 33, I had the team together like this. But it's cool for shots like that. But let's do something more creative. Let's go back and bring back the actor select. Let's say we want to do some posing, all right? Let's start with Krillin. Krillin, we can do a couple things. We can go back into our experimental options and play around with some animation, okay? Let's find an animation to play for Krillin that might work. Usually some of the menu stuff is cool. Menu weight, okay? So now we have him hand on his hip, menu weight. I like that a lot. Let's keep that. Let's do Gohan. Let's go back into, so the way I know it's Gohan is because each character has their own character selection thing. So some people like KH, everybody has a different ID tag, but essentially, you found the character when you click on them and you get an ID tag. That's how you know you found somebody. So for Gohan, let's go back. Let's go all the way down to the menu section as well. By the way, I haven't rehearsed any of this. So whatever flukes we get, we'll live with it. But back in the menu, let's do another menu weight. And he's doing the same thing that Krillin is doing, okay? Let's do menu weight 2. Okay, let's do menu weight. Okay, they're all the same. But see, with notice, he turns his head a little bit and he's looking somewhere. That's kind of cool. Let's do this one. Okay, looks like he's rolling his shoulders. All right, the shrug. I like the shrug. So you got to really go through all of these to see what the character is doing and if you want to keep it. So we got Gohan, we got Krillin set. Let's do Raditz next. Let's go in here. What is this? Okay, he's T-posing that. Don't really care. And unfortunately, Raditz is our T-poser of the day. Not cool. That sucks. We can't. Let's do a reset on Raditz, and we can't even get him to reset. He's stuck in a T-pose, and this can happen. So just know that it is within your future that this can happen to you as well. So you gotta just figure out and live with it, or just start all over again. Goku, same thing. He's T-posing. It happens. So like I said, it's a tool. It's not a one-to-one. It's not a perfect tool. He's still making updates to it, but for some of the things we can do, you can pause and pose certain people. All right, that's fine. Goku is T-posing. We can still stay on him. Let's use the other tool, the pose editor. So pose editor allows us to create, click on specific body parts of characters. Make sure you enable the pose editing tool right here at the very top. And now we can select different body parts of Goku. And the way you read this, so his waist is tied to his left thigh, which is tied to his left, knee, which is tied to his left toe, which is then controlled with these tools right here. So if you look at Goku's ankle, we can roll the pitch, we can flex it up and down, or we can roll it out. Okay, so now we can roll out his toes. So let's do that now. That is the waist. Okay, and so if you want, let's close this. Now we have his right thigh. Same thing, Same thing. We can roll his toes out. So here you go. So now with from his waist, if you know anatomy and skeleton structure, his waist is connected to his right thigh and his left thigh. But if you go to the left thigh, you go all the way through all the points to his toe. If you do the right, you go all the way through from his right side to his, his kneecap down to his toe. Same thing. Let's go to his spine. His spine. On his spine is his neck. His neck is the head. On the head is his face. Okay? We want to start with the head. We want to turn his head. That's how we turn Goku's head. So we want to point his head in that direction. Perfect. His neck, we want to keep the way it is. So you can turn his whole neck, or you can just turn his head. Obviously, both of those pivot points have movement. Okay? Now we want to turn his spine. Let's turn him all the way over. We can have him do a full movement there. So you can kind of get the angle you want. And then from his spine, okay, we have his eyeballs. We can move his eyeball around. But for this one, it's not, you won't really notice it too much, only because one, it's in the way, and two, I don't think you're gonna get that granular. But if you do, you can move his eyeball around. But for me, what I really need is, and also each hair strand of Goku is controllable. Let me show you. So let's find a hair strand that we can move around. It's supposed to be. If we can't move it, we can't move it. Oh well, so be it. Anywho, let's close the spine, but then let's go to, we're looking for his hands, okay? So if spine controls the head, let's just close the neck. Let's go to his shoulder, okay? The shoulder, we have left shoulder. So obviously, like the legs, left shoulder, left elbow, left wrist, left thumb. You can control middle. You can control every finger on Goku, essentially, if we wanted to. To prove that, let's move one of the fingers up, okay? So notice how we move Goku's ring finger? We can literally move that around. Finger by finger. If we want to be that technical with our pose that we need, we can move the finger down to the knuckle, okay? Now we just want to have his elbow. So we want to just move the elbow in. So we click on the elbow. So we're on left shoulder, left elbow. Now let's go ahead and pitch. So we can do some really wonky stuff, or we can just bend it in. Okay, now he's doing the fusion dance, or about to hit a mean dab. Okay, we can also roll that around and give us something more creative. We can bring it in, bring it more out. We can move the shoulder around the y-axis. As you can, we can do a lot of stuff, okay? You can also distort the length of it, but I'm gonna keep the length proportional. And then the shoulder, we can then also move the shoulder down, go all the way up, and also move the shoulder in. So you can really, you get the point, right? You can move Goku on any character you can do this with. So it doesn't mean you're stuck with Goku. You can go to Krillin. Same thing with Krillin. Get his clavicle. Make sure you enable this. Always make sure you enable the pose editing, because if you don't, you won't be able to move anything. But you can now move Krillin's clavicle, which controls his entire arm. You can move that around. You can go to Krillin's neck. You can move his head. You can roll his knee. Like, every pose you need to do to create a shot, you can do that in this game with this tool. and then we can hide it. But obviously when you hide it, if you don't disable the overlay correctly, everything will revert back. They'll be T-posed. The way you do that, you just go back into your game by disabling the camera, turning on your HUD again, and then going back, and then once again going back into the setting you were previously in, and the T-posing would have been fixed. Okay, so that's how I get some of those shots as well, with either manually moving characters around inside of the custom battle setups, or I create my own version inside of here, and then I use the same camera tricks to pan in and out to get those shots. But there's another thing. Let's go into an actual fight now. Let's go into a training mode session. Okay, so Goku and Cooler, we're going to do some exercises. So luckily we're with the training mode, and Cooler now just in his stand guard pose. Same thing we can do again. We can hit an insert key in gameplay, and we now can move the camera around in gameplay. Something cool I want to show you. So you want to have the camera behind Cooler. You want Goku to come in and punch Cooler and get a really cool moment. How do you do that? One, you take the camera, you enable it, you move the camera behind Cooler. You're not, okay, that's fine. Now we want to hide the HUD. That's fine. Hiding the HUD in game only hides some of the elements. It doesn't hide everything. There's another mod that hides the full in-game HUD. If you go into Nexus or you go into Game Banana, you will find a HUD toggle. You should know how to install that. It's very, very simple, barely an inconvenience. But that mod uses the caps key to hide the HUD. So there you go. Now the HUD is completely hidden and we're good. But all we can do is move the camera. Well, here comes the next step. Next step, we want to lock the camera behind Cooler. So we're going to hit our pause break custom hotkey, and now the camera is locked. But now that the camera is locked, we can't move the camera or Goku. This is where the cool part of this tool comes in. When you press the decimal key on the number pad, it gives you control, input it to game enabled. It gives you now control over Goku. Okay, so now we can move Goku around, and if you notice, Cooler is watching and moving. So wherever Goku is, Cooler moves his head, which is really cool. Now, I will tell you, this is an inverted. Wherever Goku is, the tool is, your camera position is inverted. Right now, when I press down, he moves back. I press up, he moves forward. So you have to kind of fix your head and your mind on your plane of axis that you're on. That way you can control your character correctly. There is some learning curves to this, but once you figure out where the controller is moving your character, you can, so when I go left, he goes right, and when I go right, he goes left, okay? So just know that. You can't change this. It is what it is. You just got to figure this out for yourself, okay? So we have Goku now movable. We want him to punch Cooler. Obviously, we come in, and bam, there you go. You just, and if you're recording this with the open broadcast OBS, you just created your first shot of Goku punching Cooler. Obviously, once he punches them, you can have him go off camera to go after Cooler, and so on and so forth. This is how I create those shots of Goku flying past camera. Notice how just right there. So when I get these shots, I'm good. And now I got Goku flying past camera like I need, and he just did the punch. All right, now all the moves for Goku are still usable. So if you wanted to transform Goku to Super Saiyan, I can just do the button press combination and he transforms. There you go. That's how I get those transformation shots. So even though they're not the same shot as the game, he will still transform. You can still do everything you normally do. And then I can charge up as well. And depending on where I put the camera, Goku will transform. Now, what you're hearing is that robotic voice that unfortunately when you mod when you load in modded characters and they don't have voices, you get this weird robotic voice. It's unavoidable to my knowledge. If you know how to, fix this, please let me know in the comment section, because this is one of the things that bugs me the most. You load in a setting, you grab your characters, you'll fight with them, and then you get this robotic ass noise in the background that you have to now go up, either clean up in post or reload the game and hope that it doesn't do it again. So that's how I get a lot of those scenes. Now let's go ahead and move the camera. To move the camera, you have to undo what we just did. So undo the input. So now input is locked. Goku cannot move. But now we can hit pause break, and now the camera can move. So now we can find Cooler. Where'd he go? Where did Cooler go? Is he not on the map anymore? Oh, he's all the way. God dang, he's all the way back over there. Okay, clearly we don't want to travel the camera all the way to Cooler. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just go and take Goku by disabling the camera, and we can move him with Goku again. And now that they're close together, we can now enable our camera again, and we have another scene. You can always reset the scene to get them back into their positions. That is a thing you can do. I know we're in training mode, so if you wanted to, you can just, you know, go back and you could what is the there's a button combination to reset everything. I forgot what it was. Is it here? I know there's a way to reset everything, but obviously if you go to retry, I think it's retry, but I think there's a button combo that gets you back to where you started off. But anyways, there we go. It's left bumper plus the start key, and it will reset everybody back to their positions. Okay, there we go. So we enable the camera, we hide the HUD completely, and we want to do a scene where Goku is coming in for his Kamehameha, not the Kamehameha wave. Let's do the Kaioken rush. Okay, so we're gonna we're going to lock the screen. We're gonna enable our input, and we're going to charge up, and then we're going to just hit the key. Oh, I'm sorry, I did the wrong one. Kamehameha wave instead. But now you see how I do those shots. That's how I do them. So real quick, let's do the other one. Let's do the rush. He rushes in. He's out of camera. Once he's out of view, we don't want to lose this scene. So we press the 0 key on the number pad to freeze the frame. We can press the insert key to disable our camera. Doing so will bring us to the in-game default camera angle. Okay, now we're here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do something called time control. So with this tool, you can determine how fast the characters are moving frame by frame. If you notice in one of my episodes, somebody left a comment saying, "Oh, I think you're speeding up your content because you can't play the game on your settings correctly." Nah, bro, it wasn't that. It was because I was controlling the pace of the camera and the game at different speeds. So to do this, hit Alt and the I never know, Alt and the close slash and the backslash. Okay, Alt and backslash. This will enable the game speed override. Game speed override now allows us to manually tell the game how fast to move each frame. So yes, the game, when I'm playing it, runs 60 perfectly, but now I can press the 0 key again, because remember, the 0 key freezes the frame. And what we just did is we froze the frame, and then we also enabled the game speed. So when I go back to unfreeze the game, you will notice that the game is now unfrozen, but nothing is moving. That's because of our override key that we just did with the Alt and backslash. Now we're going to tell the game to progress at a slower pace. We're going to press Alt, and we're going to use the close bracket key. The close bracket key on a regular keyboard is next to the letter P. The letter P is next to open bracket, and the next to open bracket is obviously close bracket. So with Alt and close bracket, we can now move the game at a slower pace. Now, what this allows us to do is while this cutscene is playing, we can now hit our insert key, and now we can move the camera around during this cutscene. So the cutscene is now controlled by us, and we can now capture these different angles of this same animation. Now, the reason why you want to slow the game down is because if you're in post, depending on how much you slowed the game down to, you can move the camera around and get the game to do the cutscene, and then in post you can speed up all of this, and now you have a custom cutscene angle that plays normally. Now, what I was doing is I was over speeding up the game. So like in this right here in this Kamehameha wave, we can now go down and we can now look at Goku shooting it at Cooler. And if we were to do this in post, we now have a cutscene that revolves around Goku shooting the Kamehameha wave and rushing Cooler. That's how I do these shots. It's not that the game is running slow because of my hardware. It's running slow because I manually told it to run slow. I can increase it again to go a little faster with Alt close bracket, Alt close bracket, Alt close bracket, and then eventually you have the game back to its regular speed. I have now increased it to run at its regular speed again. This stays the entire time. So if I want to have a really fast-paced action scene of Goku moving around a lot, notice how now we have this super fast motion. I haven't sped any of this up. This is all in-game. I'm doing all of this in-game. All this fast movement is in-game. And if I want to slow it back down, I just hit Alt, open, and now the game is now moving at a slower pace. Now let's run that back. Let's slow it down even more. And now it's in slow motion. And that's how I'm getting these really cool moments where you're getting these super, super close-up shots and the game is still doing its thing. And then you can speed it back up again. So if you know what you're doing, you can literally create all these moments in-game and not touch post at all. It's like this moment right here where he's now charging his Kamehameha wave. Let's slow it all the way down. Let's get really cinematic. Get real cinematic with this. Charge it up really, really. And if you have sound effects, you can add him even saying Kamehameha. You can do all that in game. And then once you have that up done, let's speed it up again. And then blast that motherfucker. And you just created a very cinematic moment without even doing anything in post. So if you don't have Premiere Pro, you don't have DaVinci Resolve, which is free, go download that shit. It's free, no excuse. But if you don't have anything and you just have a recording tool, you can create content within the game just using the tools of the unlocker. And this is really cool for when you want to create dynamic camera cuts and angles. This is how I make all of my videos, guys. So real quick, this is how I do it. If you wanted to know, now you know. I don't hide anything. I don't gatekeep. If you want to know more, check out my other videos for Doom, Expedition 33, and the Altars. All the things I'm doing here, you can do in all those games. So you don't have to be locked into just Sparking Zero. If you are a content creator and you want to make amazing content, get Otis's tool. Remember, it's only for Unreal Engine 4 and 5 games, but he also makes tools specific to games that may not be Unreal Engine or might be difficult. He makes tools for them too. So go look at his Patreon. If any of those games he has tools for or has listed that is compatible with is stuff you play, go make some content. Go make some cool content. And yeah, it's just it's nice, man. It is nice to be able to take things out of your head and make it into content that you can now put on YouTube and tell your own Sparking Zero stories, because I'm sure some of you have amazing stories in your head that you want to get out, but you don't know the tools or how to do it. Now you have the tools. Now you know how to make it. Go make it, man. Go make that shit happen, because one, I want to see it, and two, you want to make it. So let's go ahead and transform one time, and let's end the video right here. Thank you for watching this. It's your boy Augie. I'll see you guys next week for the saga cut of Sparking Zero Cooler Saga. That will drop next week, and then the week after that, we'll start some filler content that I've been wanting to make for a while. And then I'll be at San Diego Comic Con once again, so I'll be shooting some Dragon Ball because they have an offsite at Comic Con every year. I'll shoot some content for you guys there. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for getting me to 6,200 subscribers. I don't ever show my face. I have the stupid cartoon that is my face, and you guys still watch these videos, and I appreciate you for every view, every like you guys leave me with. It helps me and my mental health a lot. So thank you. I hope you got something out of this video, and if you did, let me know in the comments. If you want to make anything, if you want to know anything I can help you with your content creation, let me know. Send me a message or send me a comment, and we can always chop it up. All right, have a good one. Stay blessed. Peace.